Alright guys, we are going to be doing another Earthlings Pet Answers. I've got some questions written out here from my previous video. Now I've named these videos Earthlings Pet Answers Weekly. I'm going to just name them, and I've been numbering them. I'm just going to name them Earthlings Pet Answers and number them. I haven't been getting to them every week quick enough. I'll try to do them every week, but I'm just going to number them, and if it happens every 10 days or every 20 days even, it'll just be numbered and they'll go in order. But I'm going to stop calling them weekly because I just haven't been keeping up as much as I would like to. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to keep doing them. It's just it might be like twice a month instead of every week. So we'll just get right into it here. These videos usually take a while because I've got 7 pages of questions to go through here, but there's only like 5 questions per page. So Jazeel Dita asks, can I put a different type of turtle in the same tank as a red-eared slider? The answer is yes. Many people keep many species of turtles together. Certain ones might not be good to put together, so look online, make sure that they're similar. You probably wouldn't want to put a snapping turtle with a little Texas map or something like that. But if they're turtles that get to about the same size and they're about the same size when you put them together, it should be fine. Keep in mind that you want a big tank. A single red-eared slider should have a 100 plus gallon tank really. 75 might be okay, but it should be 100 plus. So if you're going to have a couple turtles, you'd really want a 125 gallon tank if you got one red-eared slider and one other one. You might even be able to put 2 others in there if you got like 150. But you need a big tank, but yes, you can put different types of turtles in there. The Herp Code asks, what would you recommend for a Colombian tegu setup, like the light and cage and such? I'm sorry on this one I can't really answer. I've never had a tegu. Haven't really looked into them all that much either, so I really can't answer that question. If you find anything out, I'll send you a message, but you're going to have to look around online and get some information. Try looking at lots of different sources and sites, and don't just believe the first thing you read. Go and read a lot about it from different sites. The Underlord asks, I'm just curious how long hedgehogs live. Also anything about box turtles. And hedgehogs can live about 8 years if they're kept well. But 4 to 7 years is pretty common. But they should be able to live 6 plus years. I'd say 6 is a good average. I have a hedgehog right now that's looking really healthy. She has a cataract in one eye, but other than that, she's over 5 years old and doing great, acting like she was 2 years old. That DIY girl, what is the best cage for a hedgehog? And can you do a do-it-yourself hedgehog heating thing, not a lamp? The best cage for a hedgehog is a single level cage. You can make it yourself, you can use a big tub, I've got a video on that. You can use a glass tank, but you're going to need a big one. I'd say a 40-gallon breeder would be even on the small side for a hedgehog. You'd really want like a 75-gallon tank. It'd be pretty expensive for glass. You can make it yourself though, you're the do-it-yourself girl, so you can make a cage out of many things. Go to a hardware store and get some wood or get some screening for the sides. But a single level cage. They shouldn't have a double level cage. As for heating, you're asking for a do-it-yourself heating way without using a lamp. Really, a lamp's the easiest way to go. Like a 25-watt bulb is all they need. As long as the temperature is over 70, 72 degrees Fahrenheit, they'll be fine. So they just need a little bit of heat. They don't need much. And it's best not to use a heat pad. It is best to just use a low wattage light. I mean, you could use any type of lamp at home, like a desk lamp that is on one of those arms that you can kind of maneuver around, and just put a bulb in there and put it over the tank and you're fine. You don't have to go out and buy reptile specific things or pet specific things. You can get a pretty cheap one. Just go to a hardware store and get a cheap lamp and a cheap light bulb that's about 25, 60 watts would be fine. You don't have to go too high because you're only trying to raise the temperature a couple degrees. Reptile 101 asks, why won't my bearded dragon grow? I have a UVB and I feed him every day and dust his worms with calcium, but he just won't grow. I wouldn't worry about it too much as long as your bearded dragon's active and seems, healthy. It could take a few years for them to fully grow to their adult size. So as long as they seem healthy and active, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just continue feeding like you are, and as long as he keeps eating in time, he will grow. Johnny Lum asks, hey, can you put a battle fish with a pleco? Because my pleco was aggressive to my gourami, so I gave away the gourami. Could I put a beta in? Female betas are usually fine, even in community tanks with lots of different fish. Male betas sometimes will go after almost any type of fish. Now plecos are usually on the wall hiding, so it's kind of weird that your pleco was attacking your gourami, because usually gouramis and plecos are fine together. Maybe you just have a pleco that's a jerk, I don't know. But yeah, female beta should be fine. Male beta, I can't guarantee that. Blake Hughes asks, when cutting my hedgehog's nails, how do I know how much to take off? Could you show approximate picture for how much I should cut? How do I hold my hedgehog to cut his nails if he is particularly restless and won't stay still? Some hedgehogs are pretty hard to cut because they'll curl into a ball, so it's better when they're tamer. It is harder to do if they're not very tame, but you don't have to cut off that much. It just basically, if they start to look like they're getting long and curled, you want to cut them so they're not long and curled. But just a tiny bit is all you have to take off. I have a video that shows pretty close up actually. I think I call it how to cut a hedgehog's nails or something like that. Just search my channel for hedgehog nails and the video should pop up of me explaining how to cut hedgehog nails, so that might help you out a little bit. Josie Grooms asked, do hedgehogs like to play? Is it safe to put them in a runabout ball like hamsters? I've seen some hedgehogs kind of playing, pulling on a tug of rope or playing with some cat toys. They're not the most playful pets. Not many of mine play with any cat toys or anything. I've seen a couple videos, like I said, but they're not really playful pets in like terms like a cat or dog. It's nothing like that. But some will play, and those balls should be fine. You can get the larger balls that they make for like guinea pigs, and as long as the ball is big enough, there shouldn't be a problem putting them in there. I've had a few people ask me that, and people have done that, and I don't think there's any problem with that as long as the ball's big enough. And Rihanna Norse, my hedgehog stopped running on her wheel. She is gaining weight and not running it off. What do you suggest? It's up to the hedgehog if it wants to run on its wheel. It's weird that it's not, but I wouldn't worry about that. It'll probably start running again soon. But just make sure you're feeding high quality cat food. Just like I feed my cat and my dog, you don't want to buy the junk, like Meow Mix or some, big name brand that's really kind of crappy food. Go for some high quality. I often use Instinct grain-free or Blue Buffalo grain-free. Just make sure you're feeding a healthy diet and, watch how much she's eating. But I wouldn't worry about the wheel. I'm sure she'll probably go back and run on it again. Maybe she doesn't like the wheel. Maybe, I don't know if you have a wire wheel, a mesh wheel, a plastic wheel. You might try a different type of wheel. Try a plastic one if you have a wire one. Or maybe she'll try a different type of wheel if you give her a different one. Schley and Hamster Lover. I was wondering if leopard geckos could be housed together, or is best to keep them alone. If so, would I need 2 water and 2 food dishes? You can house leopard geckos together. Again, like any pet basically, you want to have more together, just make sure the cage is big enough. 2 would probably be fine in a 10-gallon for a while. Once they're adults, maybe not, but for a couple of years, maybe if you get them as babies. 3 you could probably put in a 20-gallon, maybe. Just got to make sure that it's big enough. I would tend to go on a larger tank than a smaller one. I might put 3 in a 30-40 gallon and give them a really nice tank. Food and water, you don't have to worry about as much. They'll pretty much share that, and the insects you throw in, if you throw in crickets, will be running around the cage anyways. But you could put an extra food and water dish in if you want. The more important thing is to make sure that each one of them has their own sleeping areas. So put in multiple hides, put in a couple moist hides and lots of dry hides, just lots of places that they all can have their own place to go to and sleep and such. I heard that, MAT says, I heard that the only drawback of owning a hedgehog is they poop a lot while they're being handled. Has this been an issue with you? It's actually not about hedgehogs. I've had rats and hamsters and all types of animals that will poop a lot right when I first got them. I had this one rat that pooped like, actually it might have been a hamster. It was a black, I think it might have been a black hamster, but it pooped all the time when we first got her, and it's a nervous reaction actually. Most of the times when these pets are pooping when you're handling them, it's because they're nervous, and it's a nervous reaction. And I noticed that after I had this hamster for a month or 2, it stopped. It barely ever pooped when I held it. So it was just a nervous reaction, and as they get used to you and tamer, they won't do it as much. So it's a common thing for new pets, but it's not a characteristic of hedgehogs that they poop all the time. It's just a nervous reaction usually. Giselle Dita, should I feed my ball python more than 1 mouse a week? Well, it's going to depend on the size of the mouse, but usually snakes, my snakes that I've had, 3 feedings a month is usually good. About every 10 days. Once a week is fine, four a month. But you usually don't have to feed more than once a week. Well, 4 times a month should be plenty. Let's see here. Holden Fields. Would paper be good bedding for the floor of a hedgehog? If you're talking about that like Carefresh paper bedding, it should be fine. I prefer just use aspen. Don't use pine or cedar. Pine or cedar are bad. But aspen's great. Never had a problem with it. And it's low cost. Buy it in bulk. And you get these big bags of it for like 12 bucks. And that'll clean the hedgehog cage like 10 times. So it's, you know, pretty darn cheap to clean the cage every week or so with that, and you're always ready and you always have it in your closet. Definitely say go with the aspen. It's cheaper than the Carefresh too. That Carefresh paper bedding is pretty expensive. DES92. Is it a good idea to put a male and 2 female Rankins in a 40-gallon breeder? That tank size should be big enough for them. Once they're fully grown adults, it might not be quite big enough, and they might end up being a little territorial and fight over time if they don't have enough space. So it would definitely be fine if they're babies when you get them. Definitely be fine for a year or two, even until they start getting to almost full grown. But when they're adults, they might need a little bit larger cage. Let's see, Sunlight 49. How big does a ferret cage need to be? Should be a multi-level cage. I'd say at least 3 levels, and I'd say if it's 3 levels, I'd say 4 or 5 feet tall. Let's say like 4 feet wide, and let's say like 3 feet deep. You want it to be pretty large, and hedgehog shouldn't really be in the cage all the time. Ferret should not be in the cage all the time. They should be out a lot during the day. My girlfriend's yelling at my dog. I guess my dog did something bad. But basically, get as big a cage as you can. Like we've been talking about this whole video and lots of these questions. Get as big a cage as you can, and try not to have them in the cage very often. They are a pet that should be out and interacting as much as you can have them out. The cage should be more for just when you're out of the home, or let's say you're having a lot of friends or family members over and you just want to have the ferret locked up for a while. That's what the cage should be for. But when you're home, the ferret should pretty much be out and about. Sunlight 49. Oh, I just did that question. Brady Castile. My hedgehog 2 years old, and all she eats is her high quality cat food. I try to feed her veggies and fruits, but she won't eat anything but her kibble. Is she fine with just kibble? Yeah, she'll be fine. Lots of my hedgehogs have eaten straight kibble for a long time now. I do throw in other things. I throw in freeze-dried mealworms. They like those. I find they don't go after live crickets and such very much. It's maybe because they can't catch them very easy. I'm not sure. But I throw in freeze-dried mealworms. You might want to try that. You can buy freeze-dried mealworms all over. You can buy them online in bulk for pretty cheap. And as far as fruits and veggies, my hedgehogs are pretty picky as well. They'll eat some, they won't eat others. So try different fruits and veggies. When you find something that your hedgehog likes, continue using that. But as for, will she be fine on kibble? Yeah, she'll be alright, but I don't think any problems will happen. But do try to give other foods if you can find one that she likes. Keep experimenting. But yeah, you'll be fine with just kibble. It's not like she's going to die just eating that. Michael Volpe. Do I feed a baby bearded dragon only meaty things, cricket, etc., or should I feed half meat and half veggies, or only veggies? Well, that's pretty much showed their whole life right there. What you want to do is when they're young, they eat almost exclusively insects. Any type of insect you want. Crickets, mealworms, superworms, waxworms, Kelsey worms, whatever you want. You could start giving them little bits of vegetables, different types, and experimenting once they get to, like, let's say teenager years. Once they're starting to grow but they're not fully grown. When they're about half grown, that's when they'll eat about half insects and half veggies. So when they're really baby, you really just have to worry about insects. Once they're middle age, start giving lots of different variety of veggies and some fruits. And then when they become an adult, that's when they're going to eat almost exclusively veggies and fruits. So when they're a fully grown adult, you might throw in crickets once a week. But the other 6 days you'll throw in a little salad. So babies eat mostly insects, adults eat mostly veggies, and in the middle of their life it's kind of 50-50. Okay, Julia Goss. Can you make 4 videos on STO care? She has 4 questions. How did you become involved in pet breeding? Can STOs live together? How big does an STO cage have to be? So most is about STOs here. Pet breeding, I bred hamsters when I was like 5. I used to sell them to local pet shops. I've just always had pets, always liked pets. I had snakes and lizards and birds and hamsters and all types of stuff by the time I was 7. And just always been into pets. STO care videos. I might make some more videos on STOs, but I don't currently own any. I bred them for a while and they just weren't selling very well. People around here didn't know much about them, so I just kind of slowed down on that. So I don't know if I'll have any more to make videos with, but I might do some informational videos. Can STOs live together? No. Simple answer is no. They will kill each other, definitely. So you only put them together if you're going to breed them, and they're tricky to breed as well. Don't recommend trying it. Often people will try to breed and they'll end up, instead of breeding their pair, they'll end up with one or both dead. So basically no, they cannot live together. How big does an STO cage have to be? We're back to this. As big as you can make it. Hamster cages are too small. You'd want to go more for, actually, cages that work really good for them are bird cages, because bird cages often have smaller wire spacing. Like rat cages, guinea pig cages, stuff like that have spacing that's too large that they could get through. So bird cages are actually great, and the bigger the better. These guys are active. They love to climb. You don't want solid sides for your cage. You want like a bird cage with wire or screening, because they will climb all over. They're really super active and really energetic. So the bigger the better. Think about a hamster cage times like 4 or 5. You want a pretty large cage for them, so they have plenty of room to run around and enjoy their super hyperness, which they have. Kyla Reborn Juggalette. My lab collie mix is 6 years old, and her paws are sensitive, and nail trimming takes me and 2 grown men holding her down in order to cut one nail. My dog's the same. He's 4 and he hates his nails touched. I don't know why. He has since I got him. When I was little, I held his ears and his paws, tried to make him okay. I can touch his ears all I want, but you touch his paws, he goes into crazy mode. So it's the same for me. I know this stresses her out so much. How in the world can I make it easier? I've tried different trimmers, and people have told me to have the vet knock her out just to cut her nails. But I believe that is too much for my girl to be knocked out once a week. I don't believe that is good for the health. Well, I agree. You shouldn't knock your dog out once a week. Now, I worked at a vet hospital, and we did knock out some dogs. We'd usually cut the nails when they were knocked out if they were having something else done. We usually didn't knock out just for nail cutting. But, yeah, you wouldn't want to do that once a week. In fact, I'm amazed you're even cutting your nails once a week. That seems quite often. I only cut my dog's nails maybe once a month, and in the summer when he goes outside and walks on the cement, he barely needs them cut because he wears them down on the cement so much. But once a week would be a lot to knock out, so yeah, that'd be too much. I'd say try to minimize your nail cutting to maybe once or twice a month instead of 4 times a month. And I would suggest going to a vet, not to get knocked out, but go to a vet and ask for some tranquilizers. It's not as bad as getting knocked out, but there are pills that can give you tranquilizers that will calm your dog down, and give that to them once a month or twice a month if you're going to be cutting the nails more often, and that'll help a lot without fully knocking them out. It's a lot safer than, you know, fully knocking them out. But yeah, I would go to the vet and ask for some tranquilizers. D-Dog Games. How do you know, hey, do you know anything about lovebird care? I do. It would take a long time to explain everything about lovebird care, but they're very similar to my birds. I have a parrotlet and cockatiel. Care is very similar. Nice big cage, good bird seed, some pellets. Some people prefer pellets, some people prefer seeds. I usually do a mixture of both, and then fruits and veggies and other foods like that. Birds are pretty easy to care for, but look up some stuff. I do have a video, I think, about cockatiel care, maybe parrotlet care, and my birds. The care is going to be very similar, but the food, you just might want some other foods added in. But really, pellets, bird seed, and some fruits and vegetables is good for almost all types of birds, really. Jamie Cavanagh, what do you think is the best starter pet? I get asked this all the time, and there's a big problem with this question. I don't believe there's any such thing as a starter pet. if you want a pet and you want to own it, then you should research it and own the pet you want. You shouldn't be like, oh, I should start with this pet because it's a starter pet. You know, all pets require certain things. Some people say leopard geckos or corn snakes are good for reptile starter pets. You got fish that can be like beta. You got hamsters if you want like a little fuzzy animal. You know, there are lots of easier pets, but the thing is, if you want a pet, it should be something that you want to care for, and you want to have for however long it lives. So you should decide just what's a good pet for you, not what does somebody say is a good pet to have first. Look up all the information you can on the pet that you want and decide if it's right for you, and then go ahead and get it when you feel comfortable that you know what you're going to be doing. But as for starter pets, you know, I don't really believe in starter pets. I think every pet is equal. I mean, you're going to be caring for it, so you know, find what you want and research it. Tinkerbell asks, we've got two baby bearded dragons at the same time. They were the same size. One is still tiny and hasn't molted once. The other is 4 times the size and has molted 3 times. When we saw there was a problem, we separated them, and although the smaller one is eating, it still isn't getting bigger. Any ideas? Often if you get two bearded dragons and you put them in the same tank, one will become the dominant one and it will hoard most of the food, which seemed about what happened. Now that you've separated them, the smaller one, the passive one, and it's in its own cage, it'll start eating and it'll start growing, but it is a passive mindset. The other one is the dominant one, even though they're not caged anymore. So it might just not get as big as the other one. Often the dominant ones are the ones that are going to get bigger. So I wouldn't worry about it being a little smaller. As long as it's eating and healthy and moving around, just, you know, keep going and see what happens over the next months. But it's good you separated them, and I think it'll be fine. Just keep feeding and make sure it seems active and healthy. Sparklinger asks, my cockatiel still has a bird smell from the store. Do you know how to get rid of it without using chemicals or cleaners? I'm not sure exactly. Maybe it's just what birds smell like. I don't know how long you've had it, but you can give it a shower, kind of, not hard spray water or anything, but you know, just water. You don't need lots of chemicals. They'll clean themselves. They'll often bathe themselves if you give them a large bowl, and they'll kind of go in there, kind of like you see birds outside in bird baths. They'll do the same thing, but just water. And I'm not sure if that bird smell is ever going to go away, or if that's just how birds smell. But yeah, try giving it a bath or a shower and see. But it might just be how the bird smells. Birds do have a smell. It's not anything that I notice or anything that's strong to me. So if it is really strong, maybe it does have some smell from the store still. But yeah, just a bath. Give it some water and a big bowl that it can jump around in. Dog Balls asks, can you have a small cage for your hedgehog, like 2 to 3 feet? We've been talking about this the whole time. He's 2 to 3 feet. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean 3 feet by 3 feet, or does that mean 2 feet by 3 feet, or 2 feet by 2 feet? It's technically 4 square feet, which they say is the minimum for hedgehogs, but that's way too small. You're really going to want like 3-4 feet long by at least 2-3 feet wide. That would be good if you got like 3 feet long by 3 feet wide. That'd be a nice 9 square foot cage there. It'd be really nice for them. If you can't, you know, put a cage that's big enough in your house somewhere, you probably should wait to get the pet, just because, you know, you want them to have a good life, and if they're stuck in this tiny little thing, it's not good. Some pets that can be kept in tiny places is snakes. They don't really care. They like to be in small places, actually. It's better for them. But I'd go a little bigger than 2 by 2 feet or 2 by 3 even. Try to get as big as you can get in the space you want to put the tank. The Storm Runners, how can I get my clownfish to host my anemone? And I had problems with this when I had salt water. I finally got a few clownfish to do it. But there's lots of different anemones, and you can't just buy one and put it in. So you should look online, see what type of clownfish you have, and see what type of anemone that type of clownfish will host in. And get the right type of anemone. There's a good chance, like I did, you probably just went to a store, bought an anemone, and hope the clownfish will host it. I'm assuming that you don't have one that's compatible with your clownfish. So just look up online, try to find the best type of anemone, and then try to get that one. You can order online, you can find them in local pet shops too if you have a really nice saltwater store. But there's lots of places online you can order anemones and other fish and other creatures as well. I bought from Live Aquaria a few times, they're really good. Alright, last question. Star-Lord. I live in a house that's pretty big, but it's got no backyard. It's really small, and my wife worries about a dog eating her vegetable garden. There's no backyard, so where's your vegetable garden? Maybe inside? I'm really active and exercise often. Can I get a German Shepherd? It's a family tradition. I don't see any reason why the house size necessarily matters. The only thing is, big dog needs space to run, so you're going to have to bring him out a lot, bring him to dog parks. You know, as long as you're a good owner and take him out a lot, I don't see a problem with it. As for the vegetable garden, you know, dogs can be trained. And you might have a problem at first, but you just tell that dog no enough when it's going by that garden, and it should stop eventually. They're pretty smart. They'll usually learn what you don't like them to do. So I don't think that would be a problem, but you just have to, you know, get him out a lot. Find the dog park that's close to you and bring him over there a few times a week, and he'd love that. But yeah, shouldn't be a problem as long as you are a good owner and, you know, bring him out a lot. So that was pet questions. I believe this was number 6. It might be number 7 or 5. I don't know, but I'm going to look it up when I post it. And I'll be doing the next one of these in a week or 2 weeks, something around there. And for now, happy pet keeping. We'll see y'all later.